Right, recording has been started. This is the community meeting for DayzUnderground on the 9th of March 2025. Muted for now, but I figure I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, let some people trickle in. I'm gonna put a message in Doug General being like, yo, meeting start, get in here. You can mute your mic with the little microphone button thing in the top, just under bookmarks. At least it's just under bookmarks for me. You can also set it on yourself to push to talk in the tools menu, I think. Tools, options, and then hotkeys? Yeah, hotkeys. We actually built up quite a number of note of fucking hell. We have quite a few topics for today, is what I was trying to say before I stumbled drunk over everything. Turning off my ringer because silence. Okay. Obviously going to give a little bit of time for other people to trickle in. Of course, I managed to book this thing on the one day that Americans are doing their daylight savings thing, so it threw my time zone bullshit out of whack. Of course, we will be prioritizing topics which have their posters here. So we'll start with them, get them out of the way, and then we'll just start working through the rest that don't have presenters here, if you will. So post in events. Right. I guess. Looking at the topics here. First one is from Biscuits / Benjamin from FL, and I don't see him. Then there's May of the Revenants, and I don't think I see her. So that leaves us with Otis, your topic, because I think you're here. Or someone's stolen your name.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I just wanted to just like discuss about gas zones. Didn't have that much to say. I wanted to see what other people's opinions were and wanted to see what the admins had to say about it. I know that we talked about some CC suggestions about it, and then things got closed regarding it. I mean, since the beginning, we haven't really. I don't know. I haven't. The gas hasn't really affected me much. There was one thing that had happened, but I mean, I'm not gonna complain about that one thing that happened with us pushing the story. But I just want to see what other people's opinions on either getting rid of gas zones or keeping gas zones, the pros and cons.
It's definitely something that has been discussed quite a lot. Just as a reminder, because I realized I forgot my initial blurb. For anyone that's not been here before, if someone is speaking and you would like to get in line, per se, to speak, then go into the community meetings chat and then just put in a Q, like either a capital, lowercase, doesn't matter, like that. And that's how you throw your name into the line to speak, I guess. Though, if no one else is queued up, then might as well just have a free flowing conversation. No need to go too crazy about it. Anyway, anyone have any thoughts on the dynamic gas zones? I know it's been quite heavily discussed in the Discord, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have different thoughts about it, but it also is a discussion that may have been beaten to death.
I've given up hope.
Well, I think it's the first time it's been brought up at a community meeting. I don't think it's been brought up at previous community meetings.
And I mean that's like, you know, I think it was Maggot or Blend that mentioned something about maybe like I don't know, like I haven't really done that much research into it. Maybe I can after this. Like maybe there could be a siren that goes off before, or maybe we can make an item that you use a generator or a battery that makes off a noise right before the gas drops, or something regarding that.
Yeah, more warning would be cool.
As I was saying in the chat, I guess it was asked if there's any pros to gas, and in vanilla there are little gas vials that spawn on the ground, these like circular little glass things, and the idea is that you could grab one of them and then keep it in your pocket, and then you can throw it at someone if they're like inside of a building or whatever, and then the gas will come out and dissipate after, I don't know, probably a couple minutes.
Like a pox grenade?
Yeah, pox grenades, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
But those are disabled on Doug, of course, because, yeah, those would be kind of crazy.
A lot of grief potential.
Yeah. Come by Gorka PD, oh, there's someone inside, let's just chuck one of these and then walk away.
Right. I don't know. It's already been discussed, I guess, and mostly shut down, or I think the admin said it was no-go. So, I don't know. Not really much to say else, I guess.
Yeah, if anyone else has anything else.
We'd like people to behave themselves when they discuss it. That's the main thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, some Doug discussions can certainly get a little bit heated, to understate things.
Sure, that's fair. Is that why it was shut down? Was because people were not being respectful?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Gotcha.
We've got no problem with people rehashing or relitigating.
Oh, cool.
But it was not great.
Understandable. I don't know. I wasn't really prepared to like fight for it. I'm also. I see your hot micing.
Yeah, I see you're echoing. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I get it's frustrating that the bar for a CC suggestion being approved is quite high, but it's like that for a reason.
Fair enough. I don't know. I'm down to move on. Anybody else want anything? Or anybody else want to say anything?
I'm down to move on.
All right. Well, unless any of the aforementioned, being Benjamin from FL, May of the Revenants, or Echo from Eclipse have shown up, then I guess my topic is the next one. And, okay. A discussion about the requirement for groups and factions to put out content, stories, videos, etc. Of course, all POVs are welcome, but I'll put my thoughts here as an example. I think that turning stories into homework, quotation mark, takes away some of the magic behind them, and also puts pressure on people who may not be writers, or makes those writers that like to slave over their stories for a long time feel under pressure. Same goes for videos, as not everyone can or wants to clip their gameplay, etc. Well, it's hard to measure, I'll grant. I think we should be focusing more on the example they set, etiquette, good behaviour, positive interactions. Doug Shoutout's channel is a pretty great way to display this. Of course, I don't want to shit on any stories put out recently. I've been very vocal against this change from the day it was implemented, as I dislike the idea of turning something creative into homework. And of course, we should celebrate those of us that put out cool stories, masterfully edited videos, etc. But I think dangling a carrot in front of people and saying, write stories to keep your funny server items is counterintuitive to the organic nature that Doug values and encourages. Some interactions are particularly memorable and give you that spark to want to write about, but trying to force something out for the sake of, oh well, shit, we've not posted this month, doesn't feel good. Inspiration cannot be manufactured. Go ahead, Tedek.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that you just said exactly. Like I want to contribute to my group and help gain faction status, but I personally don't think that I'm a great writer. And I've put out stuff in the past, and I get really, really nervous before I put out things, and it's very uncomfortable. And I am planning to put out something soon, but I do feel pressured, like you said, like it's like homework. Like I gotta do it. And if I don't, I feel bad, like I'm letting down my group. It's not really a good feeling. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it, really.
Anyone else have anything they want to say?
Yeah, I feel like the role play that you offer on the server, if it's good role play, is enough. You know,
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
that's always how it's felt like to me, that people should be focusing on more. I mean, obviously it's a hard thing to quantify and judge. I have no doubt that it's a lot easier to look at the Reddit and be like, okay, Darkest Midnight have posted a story this month, Carnival have posted a story or posted a video or something like that. But I think with like word that gets out, especially again, the shouting out the Doug Shoutouts channel, because I think that's a really good addition for this. Like, just testing the waters and seeing what sort of the vibe is around certain factions, especially from people that have interacted with them, and being like, oh, that was a really intense interaction, it was lovely to talk to you guys and meet you guys, or oh my god, you had me shitting myself, but it was really fun to walk away from, blah blah blah. I think those sorts of interactions are what grips people and makes them stay on Doug. Stories are good, of course, and like those people that do make stories, make videos, etc., should be celebrated, but I think that forcing it is a bit much.
Yeah, right now, members of Dark Carnival feel like pressured to put out like our own stories about the Gary games. Even though it was like a server event and a lot of other people have posted Gary Games content, but like we really haven't posted anything from us like officially about it that much. But it was well known and everybody had a pretty good time, I think. Yeah.
Well, I guess if no one else has any burning things they want to get off their chest, then we could turn the floor over to Joe, because he said he's willing to give the staff perspective on this matter. So speak now or forever hold your wish. Alright, Joe, the floor is yours.
All right, so I think I'll try and offer some clarity on how we look at stories and content and why we look at it. Is I'm hearing some misconceptions. This idea that we look at the subreddit every month and ask, has Group X posted a story or video or something? That's not true. We don't do that. There's no regular monthly requirement to post content. Now, do we, when we're reviewing a faction's current status, which happens every 6 months, or when we're reviewing an application, do we check content? Yes, we do, because we want to see that groups are at least semi-regularly putting stuff out that advertises the server and shares their interactions they're having in game. So yeah, we do take that into account. No, it's not the be all and end all. I was discussing this with staff earlier, and I asked them, have we ever changed our mind on a faction application purely because of content? No, we haven't. In fact, we've approved groups to faction status before, recently even, who were missing their content requirements, or what we were expecting from them, because we felt like they were hitting the requirements in other areas and they didn't deserve to be penalized for that alone. On shoutouts, we made that channel partially to get more of an idea of what people are doing in game. So yes, we're already paying attention to what people put in there. Again, it's not the be all and end all. It's just something that helps us monitor what you guys are doing in game.
The point of advertising the server, quotation mark, was interesting to me, because a lot of the, obviously there's a great many like mediums that you can post content. You could post it in the Discord, you could post it in like DugShare content, you could post it in like video format, but obviously stories is quite a prevailing one. But if most people are posting these stories on the Doug subreddit, I mean, I guess
There's
it could
absolutely no requirement to post stories over other sorts of content. We make no requirement of that.
I was just using stories as an example. It was just more so the point of like advertising the server, but these stories are going onto the Doug subreddit, which can only be seen by current members. That was the thing that kind of scrambled my egg a little
I
bit.
think you're hyperfixated
Yeah.
on one form of media and one use of content. So yeah, those two don't really match. You're right. You can't really advertise the server with subreddit stories. True. But with other forms of content you can, and producing content has other benefits for the server.
Well, there's a little bit of advertisement for the posting stories on the Reddit, because we post it in the Doug shared content, and then non-members, they still see that and they're like, "Oh, I wish I could read that." You know, maybe.
Piques their curiosity. Yeah.
As
That's
an
a direct
overall
point.
look, we do think it's important that groups that want to be factions are sharing their experiences in some way. If you're asking us to give you carte blanche to post nothing ever, I don't think that's likely to happen at the moment.
If I could mention towards advertising the server, say a rolling feed of different things happening from different groups, showcasing the moving parts in politics on Doug can be seen when you watch the Doug subreddit, watch people create different stories or advertise photos and screenshots, and say that very much contributes to bringing people back to Doug. There's a great many people that are whitelisted who have been here in Doug's history and could come back at any moment. Say, if we only relied on people that have already achieved member status within the community and they all chose to come back at once, we would have the queues just like we have now, and it wouldn't take a single person outside of the community having found us at all. Say, if we can continue to build the prestigiousness that's in the subreddit with the different stories and just small things that people contribute, it can inspire anyone at any point to decide, like, I'm going to decide to sit down and install DayZ again.
I know it's happened to me. I've read a story and thought, yeah, I'll jump back in. I think overall what I would say is, no, we don't want you to feel like posting content and stories is a chore. That's the last thing we want. And we've actually actively taken steps to dial that back from how it used to be, which was this sort of monthly homework requirement. And we're a lot less pernickety about that now. If we review an app or we're doing a 6-month review and we see that the group is doing a reasonable amount of content creation in that 6-month period, then you're not going to have any questioning or any concerns from the staff team in that regard.
I'm glad to hear that. I was still, I guess, working under the assumption that it was the whole like monthly cadence that was expected, but I'm glad to hear that's not the case.
Yeah, we all hated that. Like, we didn't want that. It's not fun for you. It's not fun. I promise you, it's not fun for us. So, yeah, you know, if groups are posting enough content over a long period of time relative to the size of the group, then there's absolutely no problem.
Go ahead, Solus.
I wanted to kind of harken back to what Teddick had mentioned about maybe a group putting on an event and they feel like because it immediately gets grabbed on by everyone in the community. Obviously, everyone has a right to share their perspective, and maybe there's too many stories written there and their own members feel pressure to get that story out, and it kind of makes them feel down about how fast they can produce something. So it's one area where you kind of have to give yourselves more credit. The Gary games, just as they were incredible. I was able to catch it, most of it through a person's stream, and it was not something I was expecting to be the end of a storyline like that. And just watching Gary kind of go back and forth with you guys for a little bit. So that was amazing on its own right. And say, as time goes on, these different people share how they experienced it. That's more than fine. There's no time limit because your guys' perspective, what happened during the games, is the most valuable. So if you take a year to just put out something that's even a paragraph about what was going through Worm's mind when something happened, or where Tedic was, where he was like doing something at the back of the Green Mountain during the event. Any million things you can kind of just make up after the fact. I don't feel pressured in any way like that, just because you put on an event that everyone's wanting more content from. Like, just like a director puts out a good movie and they hound him and hound him and hound him to do a sequel. That's essentially what's happening. Don't give in to that pressure and just rely on what you've built. And then when you decide to add something to it again, you can continue.
Yeah, it's a totally valid point. I mean, the other thing I'd say about that specific example with the event is we're going to give a group a lot more credit for running an in-game event than we are for posting one story. So if you feel like it's been overshadowed by that, I promise it hasn't. We do generally place the most emphasis on how people behave and interact in game, and whether they're setting a good example, and whether they're generating stories and of relevance to the server lore. And obviously organizing an event is of big relevance.
Alright, I think if people are happy to move on, and of course if anyone else has anything they'd like to say about this topic, but I think we've put the nail in the coffin for it. I think it's been resolved.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if you've ever got any questions about the faction process, obviously we can't tell you everything, but we're going to be more transparent than you probably think. Like, we're happy to explain things to you and explain what we want, because we want to see you succeed, really. We don't enjoy declining applications or telling people to do this, that, or the other. It's just a way that we can get groups giving back.
Right. Well, if no one else has anything to say here, with that aside from Joe as a good closing point, we can climb back up the ladder and we can pick up technically the first topic, but from Benjamin of FL, who I don't think has slithered in here last minute. So, during our interactions on Doug, hostile or not, we sometimes meta our character's decision making to help an interaction play out, to be fun and fair to both parties. Sometimes we choose restraint over hostility to give room for creativity and story building. Sometimes we're overly lenient for fear of upsetting our community friends. Sometimes emotions can get the better of us, negative or positive OOC. Sometimes we make a decision our character hates to progress the story or in the interest of fun. These are just some examples of decision making influenced by meta. We're certainly all guilty of this. It's not a negative or positive thing, just something we do to keep the fun going for everyone. However, where is the sweet spot on this, and what's going too far or maybe not enough? An interesting topic. Soft meta, I guess you could call that. Because, I guess it's the idea of no one really wants to Stone Age their friends, shoot them in the head, send them to the coast if they have an alternative, but perhaps it does have a negative impact on the server, but I also think it, as is kind of communicated in the actual in the topic, it does have it has like a yin and yang, like push and pull, negative and positive side of it, where obviously I'd say in most cases an interaction becomes more memorable if someone is able to walk away from it. Fair enough. Real life comes first, of course. But yeah, I lost my train of fucking thought. I think I would argue that it does feel like a net positive. As I think that, especially in the case of like being a little bit more lenient to people, especially like, well, maybe less so friends, but being lenient to new people is something that we should absolutely do. Like, if we are aware that someone is like new, then giving them that gentle, like slightly more gentle, you might still get a broken leg or whatever, but giving them like an option to like walk away might leave them with a like more willing to stick around and try out the server rather than just, you are dead, back to the coast, fuck off. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was something that had I wasn't sure if there was something that had pushed it into existence, as has been the case with some topics of yesteryear, and maybe from this meeting, I don't know. Well, does anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic? I feel like it's a simple one to grasp, at the very least. Ooh, true. Yeah. If a regular Doug, a seasoned Doug member sees a member of the cult, they're gonna be like, "Oh shit, this is gonna be crazy. I better not just blast them." Whereas if regular DayZ Chad, the quickscoper number 69, walks up to a cult member and is like, "Oh shit, that guy has a Mosin. I'm gonna take that," and shoots him in the head. That is also another point, yeah. It makes people less willing to do the mean thing, even if it makes sense, because of the not wanting to shit on their friends, essentially. It has positives and negatives. It's a very interesting dilemma. Very human dilemma, too. It'd be like... I don't know, it'd be like, obviously Torchwood doesn't really exist as a group anymore, but it'd be like us in Damn, our almost modus operandi would be like, if we see Torchwood, we open fire, and theirs would be the same. Like, if they see us, we open fire. But obviously, we kind of hope, we always hope for something with more depth than just, oh shit, there's a person with an orange armband, or there's someone with a red armband, open fire. So, especially in a game like DayZ, things move fast and get out of hand quite quickly. It is an interesting dilemma. I'm sure we could discuss it for fucking hours at this rate, but if no one else has any major points they want to bring up on it, then we can move on to the next one, which will be interesting, I'm sure. Right, marking that one as that topic is done. Okay, next topic is one from May. Before I put this suggestion, I want to start by saying, yes, I know that it's currently a wipe, so the queue will be high. However, with the influx of streamers and people, I would like to suggest a modified whitelist day, once a week for 12 whole hours, noon to midnight. I know prio queue is something talked about, but I believe a fair amount of the community does in fact want this. However, it can be approached in a manner that works for everyone. 1 day a week, 4 times a month, 12 hours a session. So... we have discussed whitelist days before. This is a different flavor of whitelist days than what we're used to, I guess, where it's like server locks and then server unlocks 24 hours later. At least that's how I think they used to run. It's been a while. I will definitely say that the queues have been kind of crazy, but as was mentioned in the suggestion, there's this whole thing with the priority queue for members that's working its way down the pipeline as far as I know. So I don't think it's plus around wipe it's always going to be chaos, but definitely around wipe.
It's worth people remembering that the percentage of connected users that hold whitelist at the moment is actually quite low relative to historically. I think the maximum we've seen recently has been about half of the server being whitelisted. So if we ran whitelist days, realistically, it's probably not getting to high pop. We think that priority queue is a way that we can still prioritize our members without emptying the server. And it's not far off being done now. Again, nice. I'm not going to commit to any timelines because person who's developing it is doing it in their spare time, and we want to make sure that it's fully functional and free of any potential bugs before it goes live.
Yeah,
But
I think that
it's being, not only is it being worked on, it's basically more or less done and being polished.
yeah, I think this is a pretty cut and dry. We know that the priority queue thing is coming down the pipeline one of these days, and as staff have been quite vocal with most of the time, it's less than half, maybe even like a quarter of the people on the server that are actually whitelisted, and the rest are unwhitelisted. So I feel like if I don't know, if somehow the priority queue thing does come in and people feel like it's not much better, then maybe people will feel like reopening the floor with the whole whitelist day thing. But in my experience, the moment a whitelist day hits, even if, say, there's 45 members that are playing on the server before whitelist hits, already cutting out the 45 non-whitelisted members, you have a server with 45 people on it, and then that looks a lot less appealing to jump on if you're coming, if you're just like, oh, I want to go on the server. Also true, it gives a massive incentive to become a member, as obviously a lot of regular Joes, whatever you will, that are just playing on the server because, oh, I like DayZ. Suddenly they're like, oh, I can get priority queue if I fill out this application. And then they delve down the rabbit hole of the server and start learning more about what it's about. I think it's a good onboarding process for members as well. That's definitely of value.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants a full server. Like, more people in the game is good.
Yes, that's, I believe, how it would work, Father Abraham. Whitelist members go to the front of the queue and then just wait there until someone DCs. Though I believe, obviously, I don't know how it's all developing, but there was a discussion of basically the admins, because I don't know if you can make different levels of priority queue. I know that was a concern that was brought up before, but they might have figured out a way to work
The way
around
we're doing it is a workaround. There aren't multi-levels of priority queue. We won't be able to get staff in immediately when they need to be in using the normal priority queue system, because that'll be for all whitelisted members. The staff will be able to remove people from the queue if they have to get in expeditiously.
So staff will essentially have an oh shit button that they can press to get in immediately to deal with a hacker, yeah.
We've
Or something
basically
crazy.
built a scramble button, yeah.
I think, how the hell do I pronounce that name? Air Nora? They have said that the full whitelist days for wipe, if this priority queue thing gets implemented, it was said before that they'd probably do away with those full whitelist days and just run with the whitelist queue thing, but I'm not sure if that's still the mindset they're working with.
We don't expect that we will need whitelist as well as priority queue. No.
Makes sense. Right. Well,
I think the server would have to get a lot more popular for that.
I think we can drive the nail into this suggestion as well. And we are left with one suggestion left from Riker, who I don't think has showed up, so we can just crack on with this one. Server performance with the increased cap. Are players experiencing any issues or problems with the increased cap? Some notes from my own group's personal experiences are zombies beating up players even though they've moved, desync, causing frustrating deaths and uncons, and zombies not spawning at times or spawning delayed. I've certainly seen this when I've been playing, mostly when there's like a big, like 20, 30 something man queue where you'll walk into a town and then the zombies don't spawn in, and then eventually they just all appear like a few minutes after you've entered the town or thereabouts. Just curious if there's any other instances that people have been anything that people have been noticing in terms of performance. Vocal crowd tonight, holy shit. Go ahead.
How is it like? Is there like sections of the map like loaded in with performance? Like for example, like where this is like down there in Komarovo, will you get the same lag as it is in Zelenogorsk, or it's the whole thing, right?
I think
That would effectively be the difference between the lag between your client to the server and whether the server is having trouble keeping up with the load it's getting as well. That is something that's directly looked at when they look at the dedicated server. It's pretty clear when there's actually like a loss in like TPS or when the server is failing to perform. And that's not something I think that they've observed. And we would need Oz or someone who's been inside the command line to really say that. But
Yuri
so
is
it's not
next.
always global.
I see.
Yeah, I can just speak for myself and parts of my factions, but definitely when the cap got like raised to at first 85 and then 90, at least we could have immediately noticed like less stable connection. Like several of us keep crashing while playing. I personally it's either I crash, I'm being red chained, or sometimes everything works when I log in, so I have to go PQ several times over. We have had people lagging out and just being punched to death by zombies. And especially recently, like almost every time we enter a town, there's almost never zombies loaded in. Like especially if there's no military, it's always empty until we're right in the middle of it, likely because the server is just so full and it can't load all in all the zombies because just 90 people is more than 80.
Oz is next in queue.
Yeah. So we have observed this issue, like we're aware of it. From what I understand, it did happen like as soon as we raised the player cap to 90. It's also the reason why we likely won't go any further than that in terms of like increasing the server population. But yeah, I think exactly what was just said. Like it's directly correlated to the fact that there's more players on the server. Zombies are sometimes spawning late. I'm not sure if there's too much that we can do about it on our end, aside from reverting back to lower player pops. But like ultimately, I think everybody would agree that, I don't know, 90 seems to be a sweet spot right now. It's a compromise kind of to just accept the zombies kind of being a little funky or more funky than usual, I guess. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I think ultimately, if and when we were to go back to 80 player pop or even 85, I think we'd go back like noticeably to what it was before. But aside from that, I think it's just something we live with for now. I don't think it's a huge deal either way. For me personally, like it's just been the infected spawning late. Aside from that, like I haven't had too many issues in terms of like desync and stuff like that, but I can't speak for everyone. And I'm not sure if players that usually have a higher ping, maybe they're noticing slightly more desync than usual as a result of the current server performance. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just something we kind of live with for now.
Yeah, I don't think it's super duper game breaking. At least certainly 90 to 95% of the time. I've definitely noticed some of those situations where I'll go to like open a door and then like it takes a couple seconds for the door to like physically open after I press F on it. And initially I was chalking these things up to me being EU and on a higher ping, but I remember seeing some clips from like people I was running with. I think it was like a clip from Clyde who shot a cow in the head, and it was like he fired the bullet, and then it took a solid like 2 to 3 seconds to see the blood splatter on the cow's head, and he wasn't like super far away or anything. But
Right.
notice
Yeah.
things like that for sure, but it's
That makes
nothing
sense.
crazy.
And I personally also like, I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the number of players in queue, or it's just like the simple fact that there's more players on the server being at 90 right now. I don't know if the queue affects the server performance. But yeah, I know that we have seen some people post some clips of like, some desyncy stuff. And the thing is like, sometimes even at 80 pop, Daisy be Daisy-ing, and it's like, sometimes it's just brutal, but.
You mean to tell me that DayZ is not an unstable and bugged game?
Perfect game. Game of the year 2025.
11-year-old game, by the way.
You mean to tell me that zombies in DayZ are janky? They're not perfect?
When is DayZ 2 coming out?
Good question. Just wait until, I don't know, they iron things out with Armor Reforger. Who the fuck knows? DayZ engine update to Infusion engine number 2 Electric Boogaloo. Anyway.
I kind of like Infusion.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic? If not, then that is the last scheduled topic, but if anyone else has anything else they'd like to bring up, then the floor is yours. And also, obviously, if staff have anything they'd like to say, or any announcements or whatever like that, then feel fucking free, but if you've got nothing, then fair enough.
Yeah, we've decided we're going to shut down the server within the next week or two, so
Enjoy
enjoy your final moments.
It was a good run.
I agree.
Top of Baron
finally go
I
outside.
got mystery meat to sell to you guys
Finally, some
before
good
the
news.
server shuts down.
Thank you all for your
Permanently.
donations. I'll be taking good care of them.
Yeah,
going
we
to
decided to just
Tahiti,
give all the
Dutch.
donations to Joe.
Happy 11 years. We're taking the donations. Goodbye. Yippee!
College pays me, actually.
Yeah, I also get paid to go to college.
Yeah, sure, pal.
The joys of the UK.
What is a college?
Yeah, they're shutting those down in America.
We don't need no stupid dumb college.
Yeah.
We don't need none of that goddamn book
We don't
learning.
need that.
That liberal juice.
Alright, I'm out of it. See ya.
See ya. Yeah, I guess
in.
that is the community meeting done. You are all hereby dismissed. Really short one. I don't know if that's our shortest one in a while.
I don't think we've ever had one that didn't
Love
go
you
out
guys.
of
Bye.
full hour that I can remember.
Bye.
Yeah, it's pretty short actually. We got through those topics pretty quickly. I was also thinking of being like, so what's everyone's thoughts on, like, as I normally do, like, what's everyone's thoughts on, like, the new update and, like, 1.27, but there wasn't really that much added. Sticks cracking under your feet. Whoop-de-doo.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I know it's a hot take. I really like that addition, though.
I think it's a... I mean, I can't really be mad at them, because this is what they do every year. They do a stability update. That's the first one of the year. It also, like, sets the groundwork for the rest of the year. So I can't exactly... I'm not, like, surprised, or anything like that, but it's always really funny to look at, like, the comment sections of DayZ videos and DayZ's Twitter account when they put out one of those stability updates, because it's just like, I'm ruining the game!
No, seriously. Like,
Yeah.
they... Go ahead.
I say my absolute favorite's the new way to break the long stick. You try to break it over your knee and you're just the weakest person in existence. Fucking like,
Yeah.
hook. And then somehow it's still your gloves that get damaged after all that.
Yep.
Instead of your pants.
I like it, man. I've been playing a lot of Reforger lately, and a lot of the additions that they've added to that, like the ambient noises walking through the forest, of like the sticks cracking every once in a while, it's not as bad as DayZ. I think if they move closer to what they've got in Reforger, it'll be a lot better because there's less stick cracking, but it's a lot louder.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should stop recording on OBS now.